In this video, I'm going to show you how to switch between OBS scenes using keyboard shortcuts and a Python script. I'm on my main screen right now, but I'm going to type here hyper+o for OBS and then the number 1, and that should switch me to my guest 1 scene. Let me go back to my main screen. I'm going to type here hyper+o+m, and that should switch me back to the main screen. Let's say that you have multiple guests in an OBS session and you need to share the screen for the guest 2. I'm going to type here hyper+o+2. That is going to switch me to the guest 2 scene. Let's say that I need to switch to the guest 3, hyper+o+3. It's going to switch to that. Let me go back to my main screen, and that keyboard shortcut should do it. Let's say that you're experiencing technical difficulties, hyper+o+t. That is going to show that image, technical difficulties, which is just another scene. What if you need to pause the stream for a little while? I'm going to type here hyper+o+b, and that should show you the be right back scene. What if your stream is starting and you're not ready? hyper+o+s. That's going to show a different scene, so viewers can know what's going on. Let me switch back to my main screen. As you're able to tell, I did all of this just using my keyboard. Do you need this special type of keyboard? No, any keyboard works. I'm going to show you how to set all this up and how it works. I just demoed this on the right side using keyboard shortcuts, so I'm just going to mark this as done here. Now I'm just quickly going to show you how this works if you type the script. Let me switch back to my terminal, and I'm just going to search here in the last commands that I executed, guest 1. I'm just going to run this command right now, and you should see the scene switching. Let me type enter. Notice what happens. It's asking me for my password, so I'm just going to authenticate this or authorize this with my watch. Just going to double click on this thing here, and you should see guest 1 now. I'm going to type a different command. You will not be able to see it, but I'm just going to type here main screen. I think it is the name of that other scene. Main screen. Yep, that's the one. And I'm back on the main screen scene. Let me try it one last time with the guest 2. I'm just going to bring this up here. Guest 2. Let's run it. You should see the guest 2 image right now. Let me come back to the main screen so you can see what's happening. So notice that you don't have to do it with keyboard shortcuts. You can execute the script, just pass it the scene name, and it works fine as well. So I'm just going to mark this as done here on the right side as well. Do you need to do this in an authenticated way? No, you don't. Let me show you how this works if I try to do it without authentication. Let me go back to my terminal here, and I'm just going to search here for auth, and I'm going to switch to the guest 1. This is the one. I'm just going to execute this command, passing this flag at the end, and let's see what happens. Notice that I get an error message there. Authentication enabled, but no password provided. Let's go back to OBS real quick, and I'm just going to disable authentication. Gonna come here to the top under Tools, WebSocket Server Settings. Going to uncheck this. Going to hit Apply. Just gonna hit OK here. Let's go back to the terminal. And let's try to run this again with the no-auth flag. And notice that it switched me to the guest 1 scene. I'm going to go back to my main screen. I'm just going to type that command, just adding the no-auth flag at the end of the command. Just tried it, and you should be looking at my screen right now. So as you're able to tell, this works as well. Just going to mark it as done. How can we confirm that the authenticated method works? Let's go back to OBS. I'm just going to come here to the top of the screen, Tools, WebSocket Server Settings, and I'm going to change the password. I'm going to enable authentication. After enabling authentication, I'm going to click on Apply, and I'm going to generate a new password. It's not going to be the same one that I had before. I'm just going to click here, Generate Password, changed it. I'm going to click on Apply here. I'm going to click on OK here. Let me go back to my terminal again, and I'm going to try to switch to a different scene without the no-auth command. I'm gonna switch to this guest 2. I ran it and it's not working. Why? Because the password changed. I'm just gonna cancel this and let's see what happened. Let's give it another try. I'm just going to run it again, hit enter here, and it's not gonna change it. Why? Because the password changed and I don't have that password in my password manager, which is 1Password. Let me update that password in 1Password so we can confirm that it works. I'm going to go back to OBS right now. I'm going to show you how to set all of this up, by the way, in a little while. So again, I'm going to go here to the top of the screen, Tools, WebSocket Server Settings. To get the password, I'm going to click here on Show Connect Info. You're not going to be able to see that, but I just copied the password. I'm just going to click on OK here. Now I'm gonna switch to my password manager, which is 1Password. So let me bring it up real quick. This is the credential that I need to update. So I'm just going to edit this. Click on edit, update the credential here. This was the old one. This is the new one. Just pasted it. Gonna hit save. Now let's go back to my terminal. Let's try to run this again and let's see what happens. All right, so I had some issues when I changed the password in OBS. It didn't like it that I was recording and changing the password at the same time. So I had to close OBS, reopen it, and now it works with the new password. Let me switch to a different scene so you can see that. Just gonna type here hyper+o+m. You should be looking at guest 1, hyper+o+m. It's gonna switch me back to the main screen. But if you're doing this without recording, it should work just fine. Otherwise, just close OBS and reopen it. Let's see on the right hand side, demo authenticated. I already covered this. Change password in OBS. This is what I was doing that it didn't like, but it does work. What happens if I change the secret in 1Password? Let's go to 1Password again. This is the secret. I'm just going to edit, and I'm just gonna change it to something else. Just gonna add 333 here at the end of it. Gonna hit save. Now let me go back to my terminal. Let me try to switch the scene again to guest 2. Notice the error at the bottom, failed to identify client with the server. Please check connection settings. Let me try it again, and it does not work. Let me go back to 1Password, and I'm just going to fix this. Click on edit, and I'm just going to remove these numbers that I added there. Hit save. Let me go back to the terminal. Let's run it again. And now you should be looking at the guest 2 screen. Let me switch back to the main screen again. So we confirmed that this does work. Let me show you how all of this is done then. I'm gonna go to my blog post. This article is not live yet, but it will be after the video is released. So you can come here to copy and paste and read if you don't wanna watch the video again. Notice at the top there that I'm on macOS. If you're on Windows, stuff should be very similar, but it may vary a little bit. So just make sure to check the documentation, or you can join my Discord server and maybe some Windows users can help there. What is making all of this possible is the OBS WebSockets. The official documentation, I left the link there. You don't need to install anything in OBS. It is already included by default with OBS Studio 28 and above. As you can see on the image that is shown below, I'm using OBS 31.02. You can see that here at the top of the screen. You can enable or disable authentication and set a password. We already demoed that. Here in the blog post, I also leave the settings that you need to enable. First of all, make sure that this option is enabled. Enable WebSocket server. This port is the one that is used by default. Here's where you can enable or disable authentication and generate a password. Every time that you make a change here, make sure you click on apply, because otherwise this is not going to work. And I missed that a few times. Let's keep scrolling down here. In the WebSocket documentation, you will be able to find the client libraries for developers section. There are different libraries. The one that I'm using is this obsws-python, but you can use a different one. And instead of creating the script in Python, you could create it in Go or Rust, for example. In the library that I was using, you'll be able to find the documentation and also a link to the OBS WebSocket protocol. In that protocol, you'll be able to find all of the documentation for the things that you can do with the OBS WebSockets. In this video, and for now, the only thing I'm doing is switching scenes. But in that file, I'll be able to see how to create, delete scenes, start a recording, stop a recording, and way more stuff. If I need to do any of that in the future, I will probably release a video. If you come up with useful scripts, you can submit a PR to my repo. I can review and approve them so other folks can have them there as well. The next section here is the 1Password CLI. Let's scroll down a little bit. Authentication is optional, but I would still have it enabled for security reasons. If you don't have it enabled, anyone in your network could control your OBS. Any malicious app or script on your computer could control it as well, although that would be the least concerning thing at that point. And hopefully you know what you're doing and you don't have port forwarding enabled, because if you do have port forwarding enabled, anyone on the internet could control your OBS as well. So for these reasons and many more, it's just a good idea to keep authentication enabled. What makes possible all of this is the Python script that I created that is going to authenticate with OBS and change the scene. So the script and OBS need to communicate each other, and the script needs to send the password to OBS to authenticate itself. I don't want to store the password in plain text in the script, so that's why I'm using 1Password. And the tool that I'm using is the 1Password CLI. Is it necessary? It is not. You can hard code the password in the script itself, but I wouldn't recommend you to do that as well for security reasons, especially if you're going to share this with someone else or if you're going to upload it to GitHub or something. So I would go for the 1Password method. I'm just going to quickly go over what you need to do in 1Password to get this working. First, you need to install the 1Password CLI. Then I left an image here on what needs to be done. You can see the installation instructions here. If you're using Windows, they're going to be different. So just make sure that you go to this section. In macOS, I just install it through brew. After installed, I just have to enable the integration by clicking on this. And after doing that, if I scroll down here a little bit more, you're going to notice that this integrate with 1Password CLI option is checked in the settings. Then I just made sure that it was installed. It shows me the 1Password version, which is this one. And then you can enter any command to sign in. In this specific example, I have another secret stored here, this test API credential. So I just right click here on the credential itself, not here, but on the right side, then click on this copy secret reference, and then I can execute this command in my terminal, op read, in the path that I got from here. Then it's going to ask you to authorize the request. So you just authorize it, and then you can see the secret, which is the one shown here. If you want to support me in keeping my blog post ad-free or overall support me, I do have an affiliate link for 1Password. So if you use this link, in theory, I get a small commission. No one has done it yet, but if you'd like to be the first one, I would highly appreciate that. This just helps me keep the channel going and creating more content like this. So remember, 1Password is optional. Once you have done that in 1Password, let's take a look at the Python script. Look at the disclaimer that I have here. Be really careful with the scripts that you run that you find on the internet. A script can basically do anything that you do on your own computer. For example, install malware, delete files, read your passwords, etc. And at least if you want to have some sort of verification, run it through ChatGPT or something. I'm not saying this is the best method of checking the script, but at least it will give you some sort of idea. If you can, come up with your own script, but if you cannot, just make sure that you do trust the script that you're going to be running. Where can you find this script? You're going to be able to find it in my .files. I left the link here. If you like my .files, remember to star them. I'm around 600 stars right now, a little bit over that, I think. And in the script, you have to make sure to modify the path to the secret. It's shown here. But let me switch to my terminal real quick. I'm going to switch to that file. Is the one shown on the screen. And here it is, 1Password secrets. So when you right click on the secret, you will get a path. So that's what you have to paste here so that it can go and retrieve that secret from your own 1Password account. What else do we have on the website there? Starting soon is the name of the scene, and it has to match what you see in OBS. So if I scroll down here on the website a little bit more and I scroll to the right hand side, you're going to notice that here is the name of each one of the scenes. Starting soon, video and stream, guest 1, guest 2. Let me switch back to OBS and you will be able to see those scene names here on the left hand side. So it has to match this name. I also added another option to the script. You can pass this no-auth flag at the end of it, as it's shown here, so that it does not try to get the secret from 1Password. This will work only if you have authentication disabled in OBS. What do I mean by this? If I come here to OBS and I go back to the top of the screen, websocket server settings, if this is disabled, that flag will work. But remember, I wouldn't recommend you to do this. And if you do it, you're doing it at your own risk. The only thing that you need to do is to have Python installed and run the script. The first time you run it, it's going to automatically create a virtual environment and install the dependencies that it needs inside that environment. I just left an example here. Notice that it's creating the VNV and installing dependencies. It installs them and then executes the script and switches to the scene. So it works by just running the script. When you switch the scenes, I just left some examples here. This is what you see when you execute the script directly in your terminal. There are a few other things that I left in the script. If you go to the very bottom of it, you're going to notice this section, update the sketchybar label with the scene name. That is what you see here at the top of the screen. So if you're not using sketchybar, this is not going to apply for you, so don't worry about it. The only time in which this is executed is if this file exists. So if it does not exist on your computer, it's not going to run this at all. If you want to learn how I switch scenes using keyboard shortcuts, I have a video. Everything is explained here. Gonna leave it in the blog post. You can go and check it out. I cannot cover it in this video because it's a little bit complex, so go and check that out. Also, the bar that you see here at the very top, this is called sketchybar. I have a detailed video on how I set it up as well. You're gonna be able to find the link to the video here in the guide in case that you want to set it up yourself. And if you like the way that my terminal looks, this is my terminal. I have this other app on the right. I can also run this other bar, which is called Simple Bar. So if you want to go and check that out, I also explain all of that in detail in this other video. Remember, all of those links are going to be in my blog post. And if you want to watch them directly in here, I have this other section, other videos mentioned, which are the same videos that I have here, but they're embedded into the blog there. So you can check them out. If you like my content and want to support me, I have a Ko-fi page, so you can go and donate there. If you want to join Discord as well, I'm going to leave that in the blog post. If you want to follow me on social media, here are all the different links. Remember that a link to the blog post is going to be in the video description. And I'm also going to try to leave all of the videos that I mentioned in this video in there as well. Remember that if you want to support me, start your 1Password 14-day free trial, as that would mean a lot to me. You can click on this image here. Let me show you my Discord server real quick so you can see that we have a few members there. I don't know, there's around 150 members at the time. A lot of active members, questions being asked, a lot of people helping. I just want to say thanks to the folks in Discord for being active and helping others. Oh, and also before I forget, I want to thank the supporters. I have them listed here. If you want to donate in Ko-fi, remember that the link is going to be in my blog post. But I have all of the different supporters on the screen right now. So in case that you just want to help out, would appreciate it very much. I hope you learned something out of this video. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments down below. Hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next video.